On the morning of July 23rd, the hallowed halls of Parliament buzzed with anticipation as Finance Minister took centre stage to present her seventh straight budget for the fiscal year 2024-25. Today, we are diving into a topic that shapes the financial landscape of our nation, the budget. As per Article 112 of the Constitution, the budget is formally known as the annual financial statement of the government. Interestingly, the word budget itself does not appear in the Constitution, yet it plays a crucial role in our country's economic planning and governance. Let's break down what the budget really is. In essence, it's a statement of estimated receipts and expenditures of the government for a financial year. This crucial document is meticulously prepared by the Department of Economic Affairs in the Ministry of Finance. It's a financial blueprint that outlines how the government plans to manage its resources and meet the needs of its citizens. The year 2024 was a general election year, and accordingly, the government presented an interim budget on the 1st of February. An interim budget is essentially a short-term financial plan that covers government expenses until the elections are over. Through the interim budget, the Parliament passes a vote on account, allowing the government to obtain parliamentary approval for essential spending such as salaries and ongoing expenses. Interestingly, there is no constitutional provision for an interim budget. It's a practical measure taken to ensure continuity in government functioning during election periods. The budget can be classified into two main categories: the revenue budget and the capital budget. The revenue budget includes tax and non-tax revenue receipts and the expenditure of the government. On the other hand, the capital budget deals with capital receipts and payments, focusing on the government's investments and liabilities. Diving deeper, the budget is further divided into two parts, Part A and Part B. Part A covers the macroeconomic aspects, where various schemes and priorities of the government are announced and allocations are made to different sectors. This part gives us a broad overview of the government's plans and how it intends to drive the economy forward. Part B deals with the finance bill, which includes taxation proposals such as revisions in income tax and indirect taxes. This is where the rubber meets the road, as it directly impacts the pockets of the common man. When the finance minister presents the budget, it's more than just a speech. A list of crucial documents accompanies it, each playing a vital role in outlining the government's financial blueprint. Key documents presented to Parliament include the annual financial statement, demands for grants, the financial bill. Additionally, there are fiscal policy statements. These are mandated under the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act 2003. The statements include macroeconomic framework statement and medium-term fiscal policy strategy statement. But that's not all. There are several other explanatory documents provided to Parliament. These include expenditure budget, receipt budget, expenditure profile, budget at a glance, memorandum explaining the provisions in the finance bill, output outcome monitoring framework, and lastly, key features of budget 2024-25. Together, these documents form a comprehensive picture of the government's financial plans and policies, ensuring transparency and accountability. Now let's take a moment to unravel the journey of the budget from its presentation to its approval, a process that embodies the spirit of our democracy. It all begins as the finance minister presents the budget in Parliament. It pretty much sets the stage. Following this, the budget is subjected to a general discussion in both the houses of Parliament, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. During these debates, members from all sides dissect the proposals, discuss the allocations, and share their insights, ensuring that every aspect of the budget is thoroughly examined. The spotlight then shifts to the standing committees, where the in-depth scrutiny begins. These committees delve deep into the individual demands for grants made by various ministries. After the standing committees complete their reviews, it's time for a detailed discussion and voting on the demands for grants in the Lok Sabha. Here, each demand is debated extensively and members cast their votes, shaping the final allocations. Once the demands for grants are approved, the final steps involve passing the appropriation bill and the finance bill. The appropriation bill authorizes the government to withdraw funds from the Consolidated Fund of India, while the finance bill enacts the necessary taxation measures. Together, these bills formalize the budget, giving the government the green light to implement its financial plans. Wrapping up, let's take a quick glance at the history of the budget in India. Before independence, James Wilson, the first finance member, presented India's first budget on the 7th of April 1816. Later, Mr. Liaquat Ali Khan, a member of the interim government, presented the budget for 1947-48. Post-independence, India's first finance minister, Sri R.K. Shanmukham Chetty, presented the first budget on the 26th of November 1947. Since then, the budgetary process has evolved significantly, becoming a vital tool for public finance management and reflecting the strength of our democratic processes in shaping our economy. The budget is more than just numbers and financial jargon. It's a comprehensive blueprint that outlines the government's priorities and plans for the nation's economic health. It's a reflection of our collective aspirations and the roadmap for achieving them. By understanding the budget, we gain insight into how the government intends to manage its resources, address the needs of its citizens, and drive the nation forward.